Some people spend their entire lives trying to become good enough without realizing they were only trying to avoid being abandoned again. And the frightening part is, most insecurity does not look insecure. It looks like perfectionism, overthinking, people-pleasing, being too nice, constant self-improvement, laughing at your own pain before others can. Because insecurity is not always loud. Sometimes it is a person secretly exhausted from performing worthiness every single day. You wake up already feeling behind. You compare your life before your feet even touch the floor. You overanalyzed simple conversations. You replay your mistakes at 2 a.m. like your mind is holding court against you. And no matter what you achieve, something inside you still whispers, you are not enough. You are not enough yet. So try harder. And you become more productive, more available, more attractive, more agreeable, more useful to other people. But strangely, the feeling never leaves, because insecurity is not healed by becoming more impressive. And this is where most people misunderstand themselves. They think insecurity means low confidence. No. Some insecure people appear extremely confident. Some are successful, popular, talented, desired by everyone. Yes, secretly, they still feel emotionally unsafe being fully seen. Because the real root of insecurity is often this: you learn that your natural self was not safe enough to be loved. That changes everything. Maybe nobody said it directly, but you felt it. You felt it when people only praise you when you achieve something. You felt it when your emotions were dismissed, when you were compared to siblings, when you were mocked for being sensitive, when love became connected to performance. So slowly, your nervous system adapted it. You began creating versions of yourself for survival. One version for school, one version for family, one version for relationships, one version for social media, one version for hiding pain. And after years of shape-shifting emotionally, you forgot which version was actually you. That is why insecurity feels so exhausting, because it forces you to constantly monitor yourself. How you sound, how you look, how people react, whether you said the wrong thing, whether they secretly dislike you. And eventually, your own mind becomes a room where you are never fully allowed to relax. But here is the deeper truth nobody talks about. Insecurity is often self-rejection learned through repeated emotional experiences. A child who constantly feels emotionally unsafe becomes an adult who questions themselves automatically. Not because they are weak, because their brain adapted to survive emotionally. And this survival pattern follows people everywhere, even into love. That is why some people panic when someone genuinely cares about them, because attention feels unfamiliar, kindness feels suspicious, love feels temporary. So they overthink, they withdraw, they self-sabotage, they apologize for existing naturally, not consciously, automatically. And most people never realize they are still trying to earn the love they should have received freely years ago. That is why compliments sometimes make you uncomfortable, because deep down, your identity was built around criticism. So when someone sees beauty in you, your nervous system does not know where to place it. And the painful part is, many insecure people become addicted to external validation while secretly starving internally. One compliment can temporarily lift them. One rejection can emotionally destroy them, because their sense of worth lives in the hands of other people, and eventually they stop asking. They stop asking, what do I feel about myself? Instead, they ask, how am I being perceived? That is not confidence. That is emotional survival. And ancient wisdom once says something. It says, when a tree grows twisted towards surviving harsh winds, it may forget the direction of the sun. And many people are living exactly like that. They are surviving emotionally, but not truly living. Smiling publicly, but breaking privately. Some people cannot even enjoy peaceful moments anymore, because their nervous system became addicted to emotional alertness. If nobody texts back quickly, then there is panic. If someone's tone changes a little, there's panic. If they make one mistake, there's shame. If they are ignored, there's overthinking. You see, the body remembers emotional danger even when the mind tries to move on. And this is where insecurity becomes invisible suffering. Because from the outside, people may think you are functioning, but internally, you feel like you are constantly auditioning for acceptance. That is why you shrink yourself in conversations, why you hesitate before speaking honestly, why you release messages before sending them, why you feel guilty resting, why you apologize too much. That is why criticism feels heavier than love, because your mind is trying to protect you from humiliation. But protection can become a prison, because eventually you stop expressing yourself naturally and start editing yourself for survival. And here is the hidden fracture most people never notice. The more disconnected you become from your real self, the more insecurity grows, because no max ever truly feels love, only managed. And maybe that is why some people feel lonely even around others, because being emotionally unseen while surrounded by people creates a loneliness deeper than isolation itself. Now listen, dear friend, because this is where the deeper truth begins to reveal itself. Your insecurity may actually be hatred toward yourself. It may be grief for the version of you that felt forced to disappear in order to survive. The confident child who became silent. The expressive child who became careful. The joyful child who became hyper-aware. The emotional child who learned to hide tears. And sometimes insecurity is not born from arrogance or weakness. Sometimes it is born from self-abandonment repeated for years. And the dangerous part is this: people normalize it. They call it maturity, being realistic, being humble, being careful. But secretly, many people are living disconnected from their own spirit. That is why even success feels empty sometimes, because achievement cannot heal a person who still feels emotionally unwanted inside. And this is why some people keep chasing more. They chase more money, more beauty, more status. They chase more attention, hoping one day they will finally feel enough. But the wound keeps following them, because the wound was never external, it was relational. It began the moment they believed, if I were truly lovable, I would not need to work this hard to be accepted. And maybe nobody has ever said this to you before, but your insecurity makes sense. Not because it should control your life forever, but because your mind adapted to experiences that taught you to doubt your worth. And that changes how you see yourself. And this is where many people break emotionally. They spend years trying to improve themselves without ever feeling emotionally safe with themselves. So now, I want to give you something different. This is the solution. This is not motivation. It's not fake positivity. It is something uncomfortable, but healing. Tonight, pay attention to how many times you apologize for existing naturally. Notice it carefully. Notice when you say sorry for speaking, sorry for asking questions, sorry for expressing emotions, sorry for taking space, sorry for being human. Because sometimes many insecure people apologize constantly without realizing they learn to treat their existence like an inconvenience. And here is the healing experience I want you to try. Tomorrow, do one small thing without editing yourself first. Not something dramatic, something simple. Send message without rereading it 10 times. Speak without rehearsing mentally. Laugh naturally without checking who approves. Wear something you genuinely like. And say what you actually feel, kindly and honestly, to yourself. And then notice the discomfort that appears afterward. That discomfort is not proof that you did something wrong. It is proof that your nervous system is unfamiliar with authenticity. And that feeling is the doorway, not the danger. Because healing insecurity is not becoming fearless. It is slowly teaching your body that being yourself is no longer unsafe. And maybe that is why scripture says, perfect love drives out fear. 1 John. Not performance, not perfection, love. Because fear survives where acceptance disappears. And many people have spent years fearing rejection because they first rejected themselves to survive other people. But something powerful begins to happen when a person stops abandoning themselves internally. Their voice changes, their energy changes, their eyes soften, their body relaxes, not because life became perfect, but because they are no longer at war with their own existence. A river does not become clear by attacking the mud. It becomes clear when the storm finally settles. And maybe your soul has been exhausted from trying to prove you deserve to exist peacefully. You were never supposed to earn your humanity. Some wounds do not bleed openly. They become personality. They become habit. They become defense mechanism. They become silence. And maybe the real question is not, why am I so insecure? Maybe the deeper question is, who convinced me that being myself was unsafe? Because somewhere along the way, you stopped seeing yourself through compassion and started seeing yourself through survival. And maybe today, something inside you finally remembered. You were never meant to spend your entire life auditioning for love. Now, dear friend, listening to this, what truth in this video stayed with you the longest? Share your experience in the comment. Thanks so much for being with me. I am TheZipporah.